You didn't choose to scroll again. Your brain sort of nudged you. You blinked. You clicked. That little twitch in your thumb wasn't yours, it was habit running on autopilot. But here's the twist. Everyone's calling it a dopamine addiction, like we're all just rats pressing the pleasure button for another hit. But what if I told you dopamine doesn't even work like that? See, dopamine's got a bit of a PR problem. Somewhere along the line, it went from being a humble neurotransmitter doing its job to being blamed for every second we waste on our phones or every weird snack we binge at 2 a.m. But dopamine isn't pleasure. It's anticipation. It's the go-get-it signal, not the oh wow, this is nice feeling. Which means that when you scroll for the 50th time, it's not because you enjoy it. It's because your brain hopes the next scroll is finally going to be worth it. This changes everything. If we're not addicted to dopamine, then what are we addicted to? And why do we feel like we're spiraling even when we're technically just browsing? Here's where it gets uncomfortable. Because the real issue might not be a chemical. It might be the way we've trained ourselves to chase anything that feels like something. And that's where it gets scary but also kind of freeing. Because now we're not broken. We're not malfunctioning pleasure bots. We're people responding predictably actually to a world built to stretch our attention as far as it can go. Your brain isn't addicted. It's just efficient. It's predicting rewards before they even exist. But what does that even mean in real life? Why does that almost there feeling feel so addictive? Why can't we stop even when we know we're not enjoying it anymore? And what happens when our brain keeps chasing signals that never really deliver? The answer's more personal and way more relatable than you'd think. Picture your brain as the ultimate hype man, forever leaning over your shoulder whispering this could be good. Keep going. That whisper is powered by what researchers call the seeking system, a circuit that loves questions way more than answers. Every time you refresh a feed, unlock your phone, even check if the fridge light is still working, that system fires like a tiny drummer rat-a-tatting for the next surprise. Psychologically, it's textbook variable ratio reinforcement, the same schedule that keeps slot machines humming. You get a reward sometimes, never know when, so you keep playing. That uncertainty is rocket fuel for curiosity. And curiosity is an itch no polite society teaches us to ignore. Physically, the loop is even sneakier. While your eyes flick from headline to headline, your heart rate nudges upward. Your pupils dilate just a shade, and a mist of stress hormones like cortisol joins the party. Stress and excitement share the same stage lights, so your body misreads anticipation as significance. It thinks these flashes of potential matter because they feel urgent, and urgency masquerades as importance. That quickened pulse tells your muscles stay ready, something big might land any second. Of course, nothing big lands, it's mostly cat videos and lukewarm gossip, but your physiology never got that memo. Socially, the plot thickens. We live in crowds now, digital ones, and crowds trade in signals. Every like, comment, or ping is a miniature nod from the tribe saying you still belong. Miss a few pings and your social brain lights up warnings older than language itself. Belonging once meant survival, being ignored felt like exile. So you check again and again because silence feels heavier than noise. The loop is reinforced not by joy but by avoidance of that heavy silence. We scroll to dodge emptiness, not to chase bliss. Here's the kicker. None of this is pathological in the medical sense. It is the architecture of a prediction engine doing its evolutionary job, keeping you scanning the horizon for whatever helps you thrive. We simply swapped the savanna for an endless glass rectangle, yet the ancient code keeps running, convinced the next flicker could be life or death. But if the code is old and the habitat new, could we rewrite the rules without tossing the phone into the sea? Could we tame the seeking system so it works for us instead of running us ragged? The answer might hinge on a single counterintuitive move, one that feels almost too simple to matter. You stop looking for the reward. That's it. That's the twist. You pause the chase. Because here's where everything flips. The moment you stop expecting the scroll, the buzz, the next thing to mean something, your brain's reward engine actually cools down. Neuroscientists have shown that the dopamine spikes don't happen after the reward. They happen before. It's the pursuit that lights you up, not the thing itself. That's why after hours of scrolling, you often feel empty, not satisfied. Your brain wasn't celebrating. It was waiting, constantly, endlessly. This is why so many of us feel drained after a digital binge. It's not the content that did it. It's the prolonged high alert state of almost getting something. That near-hit loop is what hooks us. Not because we're broken, not because we're helpless, but because our nervous system was never designed to deal with infinite novelty. Novelty meant danger or food or discovery. Now it's just the next post, and the next, and the next. We weren't made to live like that for 10 hours a day. So when people say you're addicted to dopamine, it misses the mark. You're not addicted to a chemical. You're stuck in a loop that was never supposed to be this long. The anticipation system has no off switch unless you consciously intervene. And here's the strange beauty. The moment you notice this, really notice it, you start to regain control. Awareness breaks the trance. Not because it zaps away the urge, but because it adds friction to the pattern. You begin to see the scroll not as magic, but as muscle memory. Predictable, almost boring. And here's where it gets personal. Because if the high is mostly in the hunt, then what we're actually seeking might not be the content at all. Maybe we're chasing possibility. The thrill of maybe this will change how I feel. That little emotional gamble keeps us coming back, even if we lose most rounds. It's like scratching a lottery ticket for a feeling. But what if the thing we're looking for was never online in the first place? What if the solution isn't quitting everything cold turkey, but learning how to stop before the next click? Before the next maybe? And what if that tiny pause, that one micro moment of awareness, is enough to derail the entire loop? Because once you see the cycle, really see it for what it is, you can't unsee it. And suddenly, something unexpected happens. Something most people don't see coming at all. Something shifts. That buzz you were chasing? It doesn't land the same way anymore. The scroll slows down. The loop loses its grip, not because you fought it, but because you saw it. And once you see it, it starts to feel kind of hollow. Not dramatic. Not life-changing. Just flat. That almost there thrill quiets down. And underneath it? A strange stillness. Not peace exactly, but space. And that space is where things get interesting. Because what was driving the loop wasn't addiction, it was anticipation. And now that the anticipation isn't in control, you start noticing what the loop was covering up. Tiny, uncomfortable things. Boredom. Restlessness. Maybe even loneliness. Nothing massive, just those quiet human emotions we usually brush aside. We weren't scrolling for fun. We were scrolling to not feel that. But here's the twist, those feelings? They're not enemies. They're just signals. And when you let them sit for even a second, your system starts to recalibrate. Psychologists call this dopamine sensitivity. It means your brain stops wasting reward signals on digital noise and starts saving them for real things. Conversation, a song, a walk. Not earth-shattering, but suddenly more vivid. More yours. And no, this doesn't mean you have to swear off your phone or move to a cabin in the woods. It just means you start noticing the moment before. The half second before the click. The tiny urge that says, maybe this time. That's where the power is. You don't need willpower, you need awareness. Because once you know what the loop actually is, it starts feeling less like a trap and more like a choice. So maybe the problem was never dopamine. Maybe it was the story we told ourselves about what we're chasing. And maybe the real freedom isn't in stopping the scroll, but in no longer needing what we thought we'd find at the end of it.